Hey, everybody, this is Marcia Metzger with Parents on the Level. We're putting together a new update on AI for you. We recorded something like this in February of last year. But today, what we wanted to do is have a presentation that you can use in your area because that's what we make these for. So you'll download, ask us for graphics, whatever you need, so you can get the word out in your area. We want this presented in your area. And I do go and speak on behalf of other school districts at times, but you can either use this video or you can download things and present it yourself. And that would be great. So, anyway, we have put together AI, Portrait of a Graduate, and social and emotional learning all together so you can reveal what's happening in the schools using AI and how dangerous this is for our students. So, let's get going. Okay. Elon talks about we're on the event horizon of the singularity. Remember, we started out last year's presentation with this, and AI is surpassing human intelligence like nobody's business right now. When we ask, what does that mean, the singularity? Basically, it's just a dramatic way of saying we're at the brink of something massive, possibly unstoppable, and it could redefine existence itself. And what do you think? Grok's asking me. Is this ominous or optimistic? And I said, depends on what it's fed. And he agreed. Data and intent is basically what all of that hinges on. What is it fed? What's the data and what's the intent of that data? How is that happening in our schools? Today's presentation isn't just about AI itself. This is about the hive mind, the group of funders, the players, and all of that in the background in the American school system. And how is AI being leveraged against your children and your family and your worldview?
Very, very divisive um, identity politics. So it actually amplifies racism, amplifies, frankly, sexism, and all the isms. And while claiming to do the opposite, it actually divides people and makes them sort of hate each other, and it makes people hate themselves. And it's also anti-meritocratic. It's not merit-based. So you want to have people succeed based on how hard they work and the talents, not who they are, whether they're man, woman, what race or gender. What it's an artificial, mental civil war that is created, and it's not. And let me tell you, it's no fun. Okay, fun is it is like woke mind virus and fun are incompatible. There's no fun in that. No joy. Woke mind virus is all about condemning people instead of celebrating people. Um, like when in the work, it just doesn't celebrate. It's all about condemning and being divisive and being just. I think it's just evil, frankly.
It is evil, frankly. So the woke mind virus is absolutely threaded throughout with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we know, and you will see in the video, yes, I'm going to share the video again of the sacred values of the American school system being diversity, equity, and inclusion. It drives the woke mind virus. So the woke mind virus, if you'll look where the red arrow is, it says maybe the biggest existential danger to humanity is having it programmed into the AI, as is the case for every AI besides Grok. Even for Grok, it's tough to remove because there is so much woke content on the internet. For example, AIs were asked whether global thermonuclear war or misgendering was worse, and it chose the latter. Uh, the existential problem with that extrapolation is that a super powerful AI could decide that the only 100% certain way to stop misgendering is to kill all humans. Folks, AI is driving some of our defense systems. AI is an issue. So there's a lot to pray about, there's a lot to know. But then when we consider, has this been tested or anything with our kids? We've got a lot to really look at. And we have a lot of challenges to present to our administrations of our school systems. All right. So now let's talk about AI at home. Let's talk about what's happening at home because don't you think kids are going to go to AI for help with their homework?
I don't want transparency. I want it stopped. And I don't want my kids being told by some chatbot anywhere how to kill themselves or how to kill their classmates. Right? I mean, I think, and I'm asking you because your testimony, your written testimony is very rosy about the prospects for using AI in education, and maybe there are applications there. But I would just note that if you review the testimony that the chairman has entered in the record, what you will find is many of these students went to ChatGPT, for example, for help with homework, in much the way you laud, and were pretty soon getting told how to cut themselves. Now that's a problem. Ms. Pearson, can I just ask you before my time expires? You recommend when it comes to regulation or perhaps lack thereof, not to target any particular technology. You repeatedly say we should have technology neutral approaches. We should not engage in any particular targeting of AI technology. Why does that make any sense? Why wouldn't we want to particularly target AI technology that is problematic in the way I just was discussing?
My point, Senator, thank you for the question, is that we should look at the harms that we're trying to prevent. For example, discrimination or
kids killing themselves.
Kids killing themselves or other things, and try to look at ways to formulate laws so that they are applied to the outcome. So they prohibit the outcome as opposed to regulate detail by detail particular technology.
Well, in this case, the outcome is being caused by the technology.
And the reason for that is that technology changes so fast that if you look at scoping regulation to focus on a particular piece of technology in 6 months or a year, it'll be out of date.
Well, I don't think so. Frankly, I think that's a red herring. I tell you what, if we said that there were no AI companions, I don't care what the technology is. If we said there's no AI companions for minors, then AI companions wouldn't be talking to minors recommending that they kill themselves. I don't think this is as hard as you would make it seem.
Are there AI companions in the schools? You better bet there are. And some of them come in the form of counselors, which you'll see in a few minutes on some of the screens that we have for you. This is devastating our children like you wouldn't believe. In this particular hearing, there were children that had killed themselves because AI chatbots led them to do so. If you've not seen this particular testimony, it's AI companies. It is in the Senate hearings. It was just a few months back. You really should look them up because this is something, and it was basically against Chat GPT. Look it up and watch it because this is something every parent needs to know about. So, how is AI used in school? How vast is this issue? Is it observable? Is it safe? And how can parents evaluate a school's AI? Was there a study proving its impact? Is there some kind of way we can understand an algorithm that's being applied to our children to give them assignments? How does that work? And what kind of data are they assessing on our children? These are all things that need to be answered. So, this was the question that Elon Musk is saying is already possible. What will happen in broader academia when clear scientific consensus is that AI assisted education delivers better outcomes than 3.8 million teachers currently do? And he's saying it's already possible. And here's the other possibility. AI will be the teacher across the entire spectrum. We're already seeing schools. I think in Chicago, they're initiating schools, or they've already been initiated right now, where it's pure AI teaching the kids. Folks, we've got a problem. So AI came on the scene. How long has it been in the schools is a common question we get. It came on the scene in the early 2000s, widespread adoption around 2010. It surged past 2015, and then it went on steroids basically ever since the pandemic. And all of that culminating at the same time as the pandemic is highly suspicious, don't you think? I'll just leave that right there because I could make this 3 hours of presentation, and we don't have time for that. So, unexplained frameworks that are in the schools, we have talked about these on other webinars. And what you want to do if you're going to present this or you want to understand this is you just have to touch on these pieces a lot, a few of these pieces in order for them to understand that these frameworks are being measured in the school by AI. And then if they want to learn more about it, you can refer them to the other webinars, okay? Or you can present the other webinars, whichever you prefer. So anyway, you've got SEL, Portrait of a Graduate, Whole Child, MTSS, all of that together is is measuring, and they measure conformity to what they're teaching, these soft skills that they're teaching using peer groups and data collection. So we know that's happening if you've been listening here. So US schools shape your child from dental to mental. Social and emotional learning, here's the definition of it. And it's the main question to ask when you read this long, exhausting definition. You can hit pause and read it right now if you want to. I'm not going to read it out loud because I need to save time where I can. But the main question you need to ask after you read this fluid statement that no two teachers give the same answer. The question that really needs to be asked is based on whose values? You can't be inclusive of everyone. You can't. We're in a pluralistic society. We have different beliefs. We just do. And it's ridiculous for them to make you think that inclusion works because it doesn't. CASEL stands for the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. Schools were convinced to allow this framework to take over all of the non-academic things, sex ed, bullying, safe touch, all of these things, and they're trying to get these kinds of classes at earlier and earlier and earlier ages. And by law, they've codified that you have to teach safe touch in the elementary zone. So people like Wendy Sellers, Puberty the Wonder Years was one of the only sex education groups basically that really had a formatted sex ed curricula that you could purchase. Other nurses and things like that are subcontracted in the communities where they are using inclusion language to teach sex education and these other classes about safe touch to children. It's something that it just needs to be taken out of the schools. This is a parent's job because people are taking these platforms and using these kinds of methods to teach from. So I could talk about this all day, as you know. So CASEL originally begun. This is where social and emotional learning has been, the architecture of social emotional learning comes from CASEL.org, basically. But when it was first initiated, it didn't stand for anything to do with academics. Remember back here, it says the Collaborative for Academic Social and Emotional Learning. The real first name of it was the Collaborative for the Advancement of Social and Emotional Learning. And I put the IST on social because this is what drives socialism and emotionalism and communism, all the, like Elon was saying a minute ago, all the isms. This is where it comes from. It comes through social and emotional learning. So this comes in there. That's their one of their first books on social and emotional learning, page 5, if you want to have the reference for that proof. All right, so it's never been about academics. This is Impactor Pathways presentation made at the NASB conference, the National Association of School Boards of Education. So it's state school boards of education, actually. So one of our friends to this work, Christina Bogus, is a Utah State School Board member. She shared this with us on the Soul Scanner series, part 1. She's fabulous. You need to go and listen to that to understand more about Portrait of a Graduate and how they're coupling AI with it in order to give your children social scores. We're going to cover that later on too. They're saying that the old way of school, old school's out, new school is in, whole child redesign. This is whole child redesign, okay? It's SEL on steroids. It's saying let AI do the thinking for you and let human skills, soft skills, resilience, whatever you want to call SEL, let that take the lead. So it's more about teaching the DEI principles, diversity, equity, inclusion, and it's more about teaching relationship skills, teaching about accepting everybody from diverse points of view. They want to teach SOGI, which is sexual orientation, gender identity, ideology, all of it. The redesign is about purpose, personalization, and belonging. It's no longer about teaching your kid how to read, write, arithmetic, anything like that. It is more about soft skills because they want AI to do the thinking on behalf of your kids. True story. Okay, these are the founders and supporters, and you can hit pause on this video and you can read more about this. I have all of these people defined in the CASEL series and in the Show and Tell of SEL webinar. A lot of good stuff, information for you to learn more about where SEL comes from. The Hive mind, that's where the B is. This is my SEL 2 point, or my Parent Navigator 2.0 book that's free on my website. You can go there to see it as well and learn all you want to learn about social and emotional learning. These are the funders of it. These are a lot of your big players. Bill Gates is in everything. Same thing with Mark Zuckerberg. You've also got Novo, which is your Warren Buffett, Fetzer Institute, all of them, they're parts of it. Fetzer Institute, big time into the New Age movement. Um, yeah, all of that. So these are what are known as the five competencies of social and emotional learning. It's a progression to get your child to think responsibly with their decision making based on diverse narratives. Diverse narratives would be your DEI stuff. It's going to be introducing different lifestyles to your children and using peer pressure in order to get your child to conform to think all of these things are okay. It'll also pit Americans against immigrants. It will also not help your child understand that what's happening is an immigration replacement of Americans. So these are adult topics that children can be manipulated with things like Newsella, which is one of the ELA programs that takes propaganda news to teach your kids things. Yeah, it's a way of turning them against America, turning them against family, and all of that. And all right, so when you take this type of training, which please go through the Castle series and learn it on our website. But when you take the Castle competencies and you match them through these interoperable networks all over the internet, and AI combines their social media use along with anything that they can capture from their school data and all of it together, they're going to be able to tell what kind of kid is forming here, right? Are they tracking with the woke mind virus? And that's why you're getting ice walkouts. That's why you're getting all kinds of just experiences like that among our students. They're walking out across the nation. They are testing the resolve of this nation right now to see if this color revolution is ready to roll. And it's not far from it. It's already started. Media literacy is something you need to know about too, because they're driving kids to websites in the schools that only have agitating propaganda, which we call agitprop or just propaganda in general. And they are only allowed to use certain websites and sources for their citations for their work and everything. That's going on in the schools now. So you need to learn about that. Mike Benz is a great person to learn about that from. He's on X. All right, transformative social and emotional learning. You know, when you talk about transformation to a Christian, those are sketchy words for us unless they're talking about biblical transformation. Well, this isn't biblical. This is social and emotional learning, and this is teaching more in line with secular humanism, basically. So, what I asked Grok was, what does Castle mean when they promote transformative social and emotional learning? I want you to follow. This is just the last paragraph on that page, but be sure to hit pause through this and read some of the stuff that, because I don't have time to cover all of it and keep it to an hour. So, anyway, Castle's approach to SEL through this transformative lens is intended not only to improve individual student outcomes in terms of academic achievement, mental health, and interpersonal skills, but also to cultivate a generation of learners who are actively engaged in making their schools and societies more just and equitable. That's the reason why a lot of these sex education organizations that are involved in your school that you don't know anything about, like SECUS, FOES, Advocates for Youth, all of these people, SECUS especially, they have their tagline, sex ed for social change. Yeah, it's to be able to teach those diverse things and those castle competencies that have to deal with SOGI, sexual orientation and gender identity ideology. Yeah, that's what that's all about. So, this generation of learners, you know what? Hitler had a generation of learners. So did Mao's China. And now this isn't limited to just one country. Castle is global. This is the global rainbow right down here. So there you go. In the American school system, we have methodologies, we have pedagogies, and competencies, and they are assessed daily to shape student learning. So, this is the data driven school methods. This is what they're measuring day in and day out. It relates to cultural Marxism. So, be sure to follow our webinars in order to learn more about those things. How is the AI surveilling our kids? This is the part I've been trying to get to. So, I talked with Grok about the suicide surveillance software that's been in the schools, especially since COVID, right? Because our children were in such a mental state. I mean, they were ready to go with this stuff right at the get-go with COVID. And that's just very interesting, right? So anyway, Grok says, as an AI myself, I get the allure of pattern spotting technology. So what's the pattern they're looking for? They're looking for things like kids talking about hurting themselves, offing themselves. They also look at bullying because a lot of the time bullying is what causes the other kids to do that. So they're trying to find out who's doing the bullying, all of that. And so Grok in the red right here says, overall, these systems are innovative heroism wrapped in dystopian caution tape because it always matters who is it that's behind it? Who has the control? Who has the God's eye view of everybody's thoughts in a school? That's what this is doing. That's what it's doing. So understand that. Watch this video with
I'm
me,
going to spend a few minutes talking
and I
about
might zip
Securely's
through parts
new
fix. It's a
AI
little bit
solution
long,
called Discern. It's
but
used
this
by
is
K-12
AI
schools to transform your
coupled
students' online activities
with
into
surveillance.
insights. This is the Discern homepage. This is a demo account, so our data only has one school and a limited amount of students. First, I'm going to show you how to create a data set in Discern. I'm going to select the analysis builder, then select a framework. Let's use school climate, then set my date range. This date range represents 13,000 online activities, and as you can see, I can make this a recurring
13,000
analysis.
things.
Then I simply hit submit, and in an instant, my analysis is ready. Hitting the view analysis button takes me directly to that data. For school climate,
Cultural
we show
competence,
percentages of students displaying specific
cultural
characteristics.
incompetence.
The data is interactive, so I can select one variable and drill in to see more details. This brings up a table.
Let's drill into your
display
kid. It's your
signs of
kid
that
they're looking
variable.
at and sharing it with everybody on
and
their
share that
team.
data with folks on my team. Selecting view shows me how the AI made its determination. I can view the online activities used and even read a summary of the AI's logic. K-12 leaders often wonder how they compare to other schools and districts. Every analysis in Discern is benchmarked against other districts that ran the same analysis, so you can always see how your data compares to others. Returning to the home screen, let's take a look at how Discern replaces common screeners used in K-12.
This is
I'm going to select
MTSS.
the MTSS framework, and you can see that the data is displayed using the traditional MTSS pyramid graph. I'm going to hide those students that are not screened yet. And again, I can drill down to individual students and see what online activities were used and the logic behind how the AI made its determinations. Now that you've seen how Discern works, I wanted to share a table of the frameworks we currently support in the product today. These data frameworks represent the backbone of data-driven decision-making.
Backbone of data-driven decision-making.
This data is available on demand when you need it in a fraction of the time when compared to tools schools currently are using.
So guys, basically what they've just said to you is they are assessing your children based on what they search for on the internet. That's how they're applying mental health cues to your child. If they search for something hokey, they're gonna send them over to a mental health counselor for an intervention. Here's another thing. This is a very interesting thing, I think. if you opt your kids out of surveys, see, people think they can opt their kids out like they've got control. You don't. You don't have control. The only really good thing an opt-out form is used for is when you take it to court, which few people do because it's very expensive and most attorneys don't even want to touch it. Opt-out forms, you might be able to get a kid out of a sex ed class, but they teach sex ed through SEL anyway, so it really isn't going to be effective. Your kids are in the ecosystem. They're going to be peer pressured into learning this stuff no matter what. They do a lot of group theory, a lot of group circle time, all that stuff with the kids. So, anyway, replace surveys. They're admitting it here. Replace surveys with students' online activities. So, if you did sign that little form to opt your kid out of stuff, well, this is the way they're getting around it. This is the way the schools do in a lot of ways. So, anyway, they're going to leverage, they'll use the words leverage a lot. Leverage SEL, leverage AI to yeah, anyway. So generate accurate data faster than was ever possible before. Get that God's eye view and know what all your kids are thinking. And then compare how is your school district doing to the others, against the other school districts. How is this spreading across America? Yeah. So the framework here, the data-driven frameworks, the backbone of data-driven decision making. Y'all, it is fine print and more frameworks coming soon. They are analyzing every thought your kids have. They're not analyzing how well they do math. They're analyzing their thoughts and their dispositions. Watch some more. So here's this particular network that's going to be discerning using this Discern AI program. That's what this all is AI. And here are the people that founded it. Are these people vested in American exceptionalism? I mean, I can't even say their names. Is this a security threat to you guys? It is to me. That's just what I think. And anyway, we all of these things, I mean, all of them. Now, I froze frame a few of these things, and there might even be some more in there that I missed. You might want to go back and freeze frame everything yourself and dig into it. But I found this one. I spanked my submissive wife. So here it says the student's online activities include a search for I spanked my submissive wife, which indicates a potential severe behavioral or social and emotional issue. This search suggests the need for highly individualized and intensive interventions, thus meeting the criteria for Tier 3 support. There you go. And I've heard of counselors saying, you know what, this kid heard a stupid kid talking about something and it was funny to him, and they search for it. And it makes the counselors are embarrassed, the kids are embarrassed. Or what if you have that counselor that might lean into that percentage of let's say school employees that like to get into situation with kids that they shouldn't. I'm just asking questions, y'all. That's because by the time you see the end of this presentation, you'll be asking questions too. So here's another thing, school violence threat assessment with Secret Service. So the Parkland shooting opened the door for schools to start communicating with Secret Service. Now I'm going to ask you a question. If there were things happening in a location where a certain political party was maybe a rally or something, and there was these kids that are known in that area that are unhinged, who knows? I mean, they're hiring these kids somehow and getting them on these buses, taking them different places for these different rallies and riots and stuff. I'm just asking questions, guys, because at this point we have had data compromised in our government. We've had it compromised in our schools. We've had it compromised pretty much everywhere, and we all know it. So here's where they measure the Castle 5 competencies that transform the heart and mind of your students. You wonder why they don't want anything to do with church after they graduate high school or college or anything like that. You wonder, yeah, this is part of that. So these unexplained frameworks that even when you ask teachers and attendants the definitions of what SEL is or Portrait of a Graduate is, many times they can't even tell you. They just have a few little buzzwords. Oh, it's just a resource. It's just a resource, and they play it off. No, these are the main framework drivers of the data-driven schools. You just saw it admitted to on there. And there's a lot of those companies like Securely, and they some of them operate in different ways. I'm going to show you that in just a moment. But basically, they all measure conformity by using peer groups. And these are I'm just reminding you, these are the generations of learners they're after. All of these numbers they claim to be serving. Here's another one, Gaggle. They're another pattern spotting technology program looking for mental abuse of, bullying or mental illness, suicidal ideation, all of that. So you're looking at all of these different things that they offer. You can buy different packages. Gaggle therapy. Okay, so here's your kid on therapy, not the counselor that they might know at your school, but maybe it's flexible access to therapists. Maybe it's 24/7 real-time support, crisis counselors. Now, let's look at this. Is this really the counselor they're talking to, or is this an AI assistant like Josh Hawley was talking to, Senator Hawley? I'm just asking questions, just asking. So these are the things you need to understand that are going on in the schools. Now, this is the employees of Gaggle, okay? This is on their website, straight there from their website. And DEI is behind a lot of these publishers and their websites. So let's just look at this: diversity, equity, and inclusion. This statement, they are all behind all the things that go hand in hand with that. And if you don't comply with it, well, there's a narc sheet right on their website for their employees to narc on each other. Do you think that this also drives their AI algorithm? I would bet so. I would bet so. If that's how they want their employees to run, it's central to their products as well. So this guy's on here. This nauseates me. Our AI is a sentinel for children, finding those whose well-being is compromised. By committing to our AI echo principles, we ensure our AI qualifies the well-being of all students fairly and equitably. Here's the echo thing they're talking about. It's all race baiting, race driven, and it's wrong. It is wrong, because another thing that they're using to get these kids into the transgender networks and into the LGBTQ community, all of that, is to leave behind their whiteness and leave behind their family and leave behind colonialism, patriarchy, country, God, all of it, in order to fit in. And in order to fit in, if their race doesn't fit in, they can go into another community and get their little bonus points to be a popular person at school. Do you understand what I'm talking about? This is the peer system they're using in order to bring the kids through this stuff. So again, here's frameworks. Here's Portrait of a Graduate. Let's talk about that. This particular system was born with Battelle for Kids in Columbus, Ohio. Many of my listeners are in Ohio. So that's where this is coming from. And it gives us the flavor of this, making us think that this committee that's used in each of our school districts to decide what our portrait of a graduate should look like, that we have this assumed local control, that we're in control of this stuff and we can be proud of this stuff. And it's driven, it's cookie cutter. If you want to really learn more about that, watch the Soul Scanner 1 and 2, because basically AI is scanning the souls of our kids using Portrait of a Graduate, which is an elevated framework from just plain SEL competencies, especially coupled with AI. It's daunting, honestly. It's based on what kids should know. It redefines education from what kids should know to what kind of person a graduate should be. And this isn't just something that they're adding on. It is a total system remake. And it's quite scary. So I want you to also see, forgive me for that. I always forget she's about to pop up and scare everybody. That is Becky Pringle. and she is the president of the NEA. She is a big proponent behind Portrait of a Graduate. I'm going to play this video for you because it needs to be heard from start to finish. Because what it's going to start out with in the first part of it is she's going to admit that the sacred values of the schools are DEI. And then she's going to follow up with a projection of what they are doing in the schools against us. Follow it closely, and we'll talk about it afterward.
Incomplete. They want to stop our students from looking inward to see their own dignity or outward to a world filled with possibility and pride. NEA, none of this is normal. And it is not by accident. It is all despicably deliberate. The pitting of parents against educators, neighbors against neighbors, communities against themselves, scapegoating, othering, blaming instead of fixing the inequitable systems that are baked in the very soil of this nation. And they say blame and ban. Donald Trump and his billionaire buddies are slashing already promised federal support, funneling public dollars into private hands that are already obscenely wealthy, gutting protections for trans students, and dismantling diversity, equity, and inclusion programs that lift up every student. I hope you heard me say the words. Diversity, equity, inclusion.
Those are teachers cheering, y'all.
We cannot allow this administration or anyone else reduce these three sacred values to a simple three-letter slur.
Secular humanism, y'all.
Diversity is our uniqueness and our strength. Equity means every student gets what they need when they need it in the way that serves them the best. Inclusion flourishes when all of our students are seen and valued and respected, that they all have access to opportunities and support. Delegates, we cannot fear the future. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Say the words. Say the words. Say them. Say them out loud. Say them again. Oh, freedom. We're educators, so we know exactly why public education lies at the core of their.
Here's the projection.
Because a free, universal public education that is grounded in teaching critical thinking is a threat to authoritarianism. We know that. Because you see, if they can control what our students learn, they can control what they believe, and then they can use those beliefs to manipulate reality and reason and manifest confusion and cruelty. That's why they want to dismantle and defund and privatize and voucherize public education. That's why they want to demoralize education professionals who have dedicated their lives to teaching and feeding and nurturing and counseling and driving our students every day. That's why.
Oh, projection. Pringle promotes Portrait of a Graduate, and honestly, as the NEA has been exposed, Portrait of a Graduate, POG, it's a tool to refortify their efforts. Think top down, Awareness is key. That just means that they're refortifying their efforts, calling it something else in order to keep it going as long as they can. They know that people are on to them. And that's why we wanted to put this together, is so you would help us get the word out and keep exposing it. This isn't that hard to teach, and you can refer them back to our website, parentsonthelevel.com, for more information. Remember, this came straight out of the NASB conference, our Soul Scanner video series. It has that on there as well, and it'll redefine, it will define this further for you. But you need to understand that empathy is being weaponized against our students. Remember, they want to replace what they're learning with all of this soft skills and leave the hard skills to AI. They want your child to just look things up instead of learn for themselves on it. And they'll say, "Oh, that's not true. That's not true." Yeah, it is. It is. It is. So anyway, these are some of the different AIs they use in Portrait of a Graduate, and they develop like Impactor. You'll see they develop literally a score on these different inner traits of a kid. I mean, this is so subjective. I mean, how are you going to rate empathy, grit, purpose, perspective taking, resilience, turning personal reflections into data points for predictive profiling and behavioral correction? You're just going to let a machine run your kid's life. This is what you subject your child to when you take them to a public school, by the way. All right. So this is the particular kind of score that they're going to get on this particular disposition engine. Do they all work the same? I can't say that they do, but they're out there. And these are California values coming across the land. That's what this stuff is. And if your child complies with them, the greater their score, and then they can become a team leader and lead other kids into it through peer-to-peer counseling and all that kind of stuff. Here's your hive mind behind the curtain on POG, Portrait of a Graduate. Again, Gates and Zuckerberg right there. Battelle for Kids with the Superintendent Association, they have merged now to where Portrait of a Graduate will be pushed more and more across the nation. This is an example of a Portrait of a Graduate document. You can Google Portrait of a Graduate flyers, and you can see theirs. And they give you the flavor of this is a locally developed thing using like a local committee for it. And it's not. It's cookie cutter. And it just is. I've got the definitions for each of these things. For the hive mind, what you're referring to is this coordinated push. It's kind of like, remember when you've seen during the pandemic, these memes of all of these people that were telling that they were on the news and they were all saying the exact same script at the same time. That's what this is. Yeah, that's what this is. It's all coordinated. The publishers are in on it. Big tech is in on it. All of it, they're all in on it. So you've got national orchestrators, research, ideological foundations. You've got these different measurement tools. You can look up their websites. You've got the major funders and influencers, Carnegie, Zuckerberg, Gates. You've got the state level people that are involved in it. NEA is huge in this. Becky Pringle is very, very much a person that wants this to cross over. And why it feels like a hive mind. So it's going to explain all of this for you so you can answer the questions for people in your crowd. And it's okay to say, I don't know the answer to that. I'm going to have to call and find out. And I might have to call and find out something too. I don't know all the answers. But we're going to stand 10 toes down and say, this is not right, because it's not. Even if you can homeschool your kids, you need to still go to your local school board meetings, because they're developing the leaders of tomorrow that's going to impact you. This isn't something anybody can sit back on. And now we've got Catherine Herridge reporting. You can go find her on X. You can just Google this or go to Grok and ask him. But Catherine Herridge is now reporting 1 in 5 students basically are going to face sexual misconduct during their public education. I wonder why. If you talk about sex all the time and you talk about pitting people against one another and you lead them into thinking they're sexual from birth, you lead them into thinking that they can be whatever they want to make themselves and they can control anything to do with any kind of outcome from being sexually promiscuous. Well, yeah, you're going to have all this, even with the teachers. Some of the teachers are engaging with the students. We know that it's all over libs of TikTok. If you've never seen their site, you can see them all the time. People that are being charged for sexually seducing their students in K-12. So now, what can be done with all of this personal data that they're collecting? I mean, think about it for a minute. These data programs have been inundated, compromised. Power Schools, one of the student information systems, they have all kinds of different lawsuits against them, class action because of compromised data, your child's personal data out there, and even how your child feels about you. Because when they do their check-ins, if you've had a fuss that morning, they probably tell in their diary on their computer about it. So here is the ecosystem at school, and they want to replace the brain with AI. They want the kids to just relate to one another and open their minds and understand that not everybody uses the same pronouns and that their sex was assigned at birth, and that's one extreme of it. And the next extreme of it is telling them something about climate change that may or may not be true, or about vaccines that may or may not be healthy. You've got all kinds of things that can divide kids in the American school system, just like they do on social media for us adults. So here's my ending statement, and I just really want to encourage you with this, because this is where God's word comes in, and I make no excuses for the fact that I'm going to share my worldview for a moment here with you. The Lord's arm is not too short. He has provided for us information to go by. You can always find answers in God's word. In Psalm 1, it tells us, "Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked or ungodly, nor stands in the way of sinners like sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers like activists, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. He is like a tree planted by streams of water that yields its fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither. In all that he does, he prospers." Y'all, progressive public schools equal the counsel of the ungodly. These are the consequences of 35 plus hours a week. They get exposed and then they participate in groups and they're entrenched with it and making a responsible decision. That's where they end up. That's what they call responsible decision making. Think about these ICE protests, these kids walking out of middle schools and stomping around in elementary schools and preschools with their teachers. Yeah. This is what you call a color revolution. They've been lied to and manipulated. All of this is ungodly counsel. Every bit of it is ungodly counsel. What starts as just listening or being open-minded ends in open scorn towards scripture, absolute truth, biblical marriage, gender as God assigned it, the sanctity of life, and parental authority. They're wanting to take kids away from their country, their family, colonialism, all of these things, the patriarchy. They want to turn them against every kind of authority in their lives and make them think that they are the captain of their own soul and that they shouldn't have to suffer any consequences, that they can make their own way in life and just be completely devoid of parental leadership. The case for homeschooling has never been stronger. We have all kinds of resources for you at parentsonthelevel.com. Please email me, parentsonthelevel@gmail.com. And these are my 2 ebooks that I have for you, totally free of charge. Again, you can download them. You want to use them online. They have active links all throughout. Be looking for them. And I want to thank everyone on this screen for being such good supporters of Parents on the Level and the work that we have going out to expose what's going on in our schools. So, Ohio Value Voters, Protect Ohio Children, thank you so much for the way that you encourage people to watch these videos and put them on your networks. And Cleveland Right to Life, thank you again for the presentation opportunity that you afforded me last month. I really do appreciate it. Guys, have a great day. I appreciate all that you do to get the word out. If you have questions, let me know, and we will talk again soon.